Thank you, Oscar, for that very warm introduction. As I always say, I feel like I'm attending my own funeral when I hear such lovely things being said about me. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Rector Erasmus, for inviting me back to my alma mater to address this distinguished and august audience. It is both an honor and a privilege to share some thoughts, ideas, and observations with the very people who are helping to shape tomorrow's leaders. I matriculated from this fine institution in 1984, a third generation, as my father, Bernie Abel, attended Grey, as did my maternal grandfather, Dr. Philip Pearl. My father-in-law, Benji Lappner, is also an old Grey. And I'm happy to say that today, our family has 5 boys across our businesses who are currently on full bursaries at the school. So I must believe in the school and its educational offering for us still to be so vested. Rector Erasmus did not invite me to talk to you today about what is, but rather what could be. Back to the future, as you have called it. And so we are going to discuss possibility far more than simply sustaining the status quo. In considering a speech such as this, one is forced to think back on one's own school experience and how it shaped my life. I try to recall precisely what I could remember as actual lessons. And being blessed with a good memory, could recall quite a few things that stood out. I mention them because it's important context for this discussion. The digestive journey of a buttered meat sandwich. I have every idea why I needed to know this, and I still do. It's proven invaluable in my advertising and communications career. I recall it because it was impossibly hard to study, and so I was forced to cast it to memory. How much of education back then was more a test of memory than of understanding? How much teaching today is more a test of memory than understanding and of usefulness? Another memory is of Jock Cullen, our irascible but charming Christian religious studies teacher, I happen to be Jewish, asking us what we understand by the word faith. And this time, unlike the rote learning of our friend, the meat sandwich travel journey, the class engaged in a bit of discussion about what this meant. Unsatisfied with any of our answers, Mr. Cullen said bluntly, faith is like sitting on a chair. Everybody sits on a chair without giving it a second thought. But the day you sit on a chair and it gives way beneath you, you'll never quite sit on a chair the same way again. The reason this intrigued me is because it was about life, about ideas, about values. It stood out as being important. Another memorable character was Seamus Maloney, an old, crusty Irishman. He was probably my age at the time. Sharp as a whip, I recall getting an English essay back that I'd put great effort into and used the biggest words I could find to impress. I got an okay mark, but Seamus wrote in red pen at the top, never use the word marmalade when you mean jam. I got the message. I knew that would resonate. On that dreaded day that matric results are handed out, I looked at mine and was very disappointed. I'm not sure what I expected, seeing as I had hired videos and watched movies throughout my matric finals rather than studying. But as I looked at my marks, Mr. Maloney came up and stood next to me. He put his hand on my shoulder and said, "You are capable of so much more." And then he walked away. I never saw him again. I was both gutted and inspired by his brutal words. And yet, here I am talking to you today. I don't appear on any boards around the school, neither sporting nor academic. A messy middle kind of kid. Although I did start a quite vibrant cultural society called Artbeat that sought to bring the girls of collegiate to socialize with us grey boys around exchanging ideas, watching thought-provoking movies, debating and getting to know one another better. I think it fizzled out a few years after I left the school. Maybe you want to resurrect it, Oscar. But my creativity, problem-solving abilities, leadership skills, and entrepreneurial spirit were never fostered nor tested at school. I was evaluated on mathematical numeracy and memory, the ability to recall and regurgitate facts, to learn the quadratic equations and solve parabolas, most of which I was unable to use in life nor career. That's not to say I didn't enjoy my time here. I did, greatly. But did it prepare me for working life? Not so much. That part I got at home and from working at my dad's furniture stores. I'm not sure how much my schooling experience differed from my father or my grandfather. I imagine not a lot. And now, being a father to 3 sons aged 22, 20, and 15, I can see the many similarities and very few differences in 2023 to when I left school 39 years ago. What Gray did do is help shape me into the man that I am today. Holding one's head high, shoulders back, hopefully good manners, and an admiration and aspiration for both living and upholding traditional values. It was not a school that fostered a social conscience, I got that at home, or an evolved sense of tolerance or embracing diversity. Both those I got at home from my parents, who actively sought to inculcate a hatred for the apartheid system and all intolerance. So when I stand here today, almost 40 years later, I can see the hall is almost exactly as it was 4 decades ago. The oil paintings on the walls are still of old white former headmasters. They've added 3 since I left. I wonder what a young black child must think when he sits here and looks around him at these paintings. He doesn't see Siya Kolisi, our Springbok rugby captain, despite the field, obviously, and an SA icon, or other legends of sport, politics, the sciences, or business. Iconic South Africans like Nelson Mandela, Walter Sisulu, or local heroes like Steve Biko or Governor Mbeki. This is not a criticism, but rather stuff for consideration. Could these headmasters' paintings not be strategically placed around the school, separately, rather than collectively harking back to a period of exclusion? There is a French saying, autre temps, autre mot. Such was the time, and such was the behavior. Why has a school hall not changed in 40 years, or 80? Is tradition more important than progress? Is sitting on a hard wooden floor, as the pupils do, more appropriate than comfortable auditorium seating? I guess the compelling question here is this, and it's a challenge to everyone involved in shaping the minds of tomorrow. When are traditions helpful in liberating us to stand proud in the world? And when are they unhelpful in keeping us stuck in the past without the chance for new thoughts, ideas, dreams, and possibilities? The renowned composer Gustav Mahler said, "Tradition is not the worship of ashes, but the preservation of fire." And to this observation I ask, are values more important today than value? The value the school brings in shaping critical thinking, in fostering a sense of healthy debate, in asking uncomfortable but necessary questions, like I have about the paintings, the ones that get us to a better place. My talk today will focus around these questions. What I have found in life and in business is determining and detecting the correct problem is often far more important than simply seeking the right answer, because it may actually be asking or answering the incorrect question, the one that doesn't quite address or solve the problem. Value must be added to values as an area of focus. What value will the school bring to the pupil in the world? not just at school, but post-school too. And what value will that boy bring into the world? To this point, I've been wondering, how is education moving from memory to understanding? I want to share some areas where I believe huge value lies and which we need to be bringing more into the classroom. Let's start with technology, which cannot be ignored in shaping education because the entire world, past, present, and in some way the future too, back to the future, is available on your handset or computer 24/7. Today's world then is surely about finding the right information via search, understanding it, assessing it, filtering it, and then applying it, not casting it to memory for rote recital. Unless education is changing at least as fast as the world is, it's going backwards. And the game has just been raised to a whole new level. Until November last year, we knew nothing about ChatGPT. We knew that advances were being made in artificial intelligence, but it was still a while away. And we were told that creative thinking was ultimately the great savior of employed man, because computers can't think creatively. Both observations have been proven to be wholly untrue. AI is here and extremely powerful, even at a beta test phase. And AI can think profoundly creatively. We need to think very carefully about what this means for boys, for men, and for all humanity as we know it. The genie is now well and truly out of the bottle, and education is going to have to lean in to the extreme challenges and perhaps equal opportunities that this may unlock. Schools are naturally aware of the powers and the importance of technology. I guess the real question is how innovation and the relevance of tech will be implemented within schools at the earliest developmental stages, where the powers of what it offers are embraced, harnessed, and controlled rather than feared. An observation I read sometime last year is, we are already cyborgs in how we naturally blend technology into every aspect of our lives. It may not be embedded in our bodies yet, but we have it on us all of the time. As Angela Ahrens, the previous CEO of Burberry and more recently Apple Retail, said, the more technologically advanced our society becomes, the more we need to go back to the basic fundamentals of human connection. And all of us here today have the incredible opportunity to build an understanding and appreciation of the human condition. I look at a headmaster and teachers as candles. When they walk into the classroom, they carry the flame, and there are all of these unlit wicks in front of them. The job of the educator is to light each flame of each child in the classroom. But equally important today is for the pupils to also light each other's wicks through constructive debate, sharing, and conversation. Jacques Berger, the group CEO of my company, recalls John Galloway, the rector of his alma mater, Paul Roos Gymnasium, saying, the power of this institution is unlocked when we understand that we are not responsible for schooling, but for education. There is an age-old method of teaching that is embraced by young adults who want to study the Torah at religious schools called a yeshiva. The key style behind this form of education is active and constructive debate. It's a room where the testing of ideas and concepts is central to learning. Lively discussion and argument about established thoughts and ideas in testing their veracity and their ability to withstand scrutiny. The beauty inherent in this form of teaching is it enhances critical thought, exchanging of ideas, the right to be wrong, and dramatically enhances the brain's ability to remember the subject. How do we change the physical structure and layout of classrooms for pupils to spark ideas off one another rather than facing forwards, sitting at hard desks, on hard chairs, staring at a whiteboard? Passion. Last year I was invited to talk at the school to the grade 12 year particularly, but the rest of the high school attended too. It was to inspire thoughts and ideas around choosing a career. One of the things I spoke about, or rather questioned, was the deep consideration the pupils had given to understanding their true passions and natural areas of interest in deciding what they wanted to pursue as a career. Standing at the lectern and looking down into the boys' faces, even trying to spot the expressions of the matrics up there, I could literally see the lights being switched on. There was, until that moment, for many of them, a definite disconnect between their hobbies, interests, and passions and what they might consider for themselves as a career of choice, and further their studies in something that genuinely interested them. Over the following days, I got some wonderful notes from many of the parents who said their child had come home excited and enthusiastic that their career choice one day might actually be something that already interested them. And for these kids, they could start thinking about what that could look like, beyond the safe traditional choices that lead to job and income security, but may not ignite their soul. I think there is much value to be had in connecting with the human condition of all young minds in your school. And this next point pertains to all the headmasters and teachers here today, because it applies equally to all schools. I can honestly say that little attention was paid during my schooling career, or that of my 3 sons, towards uncovering their true passions and interests for subject choices and related decisions to then be made around these. Another key area of value then is cultivating a growth mindset. How do we better inculcate the belief and behaviors where schoolboys understand their abilities can tangibly be enhanced and honed through hard work, determination, dedication, and resilience? What if we reevaluated the curriculum against this? It never occurred to me as a student that I was doing something for a long-term goal, rather than simply studying for the upcoming test. I literally went from project to project, exam to exam, without any bigger picture in mind. I never considered the power of compound knowledge. Central to a successful growth mindset is understanding and embracing what Theodore Roosevelt meant when he said, "Comparison is the thief of joy." And sadly, there are too many detractors or readily available comparisons of authentic value. Too many kids today, and even adults, lose their spark, their passion, and interests because of comparison. They are not encouraged to run their best race against themselves, but others. And that is fine on the sports field. In fact, that is how it should be on the sports field. But in academics and study, comparison is of little value. Heightening self-belief and inspiration is far more important. Huge attention needs to be paid to teaching children about the perils of social media, the fake lives created, that they don't need to attend every fight that they are invited to. To disengage is more important than being there, to get them to understand the essence of JOMO, the joy of missing out. If we have one job to succeed at today, is for children to have a combination of self-belief, not delusion. They mean very different things. Self-belief is all about an inner awareness and to be curious, genuinely interested in the world and the things around them. When you arrive at M&C Saatchi Abel, the first thing you see as you exit the lifts is a sign. We are a place for curious and imaginative people. Are we fostering both curiosity and enhancing imagination actively in schools today? I go back to the concept of the yeshiva. I can absolutely see how that style of education can enhance both. Curious people actively looking for solutions. They are invaluable in the workplace. What are our interventions to enhance creativity, to foster creativity, and to reward creativity? And by creativity, I don't mean art, I mean in every subject. The Fosbury flop itself on the sports field, going over a high jump backwards, is a magnificent form of creativity. And curiosity is the underbelly for imagination, for fresh consideration, for wondering what could be. I suspect it's demonstrated by the impatience that I sometimes exasperated my teachers here by questioning things. I hope that has changed considerably today, but other than a Jock Cullen, a Seamus Maloney, or my biology teacher, Kenny Ball, who went on to become the long-time successful headmaster of Sachs, I cannot recall much patience for pupils questioning the status quo or wondering what could be over what is. To be valued in the workplace, we need to foster both independent thought and individuality at school, so that kids matriculate with inner confidence and a sense of self. Oscar Wilde wrote, "You might as well be yourself because everybody else is already taken." When I walked these halls, individuality was undervalued by teachers and pupils. I undervalued individuality and thought the kids that had rock bands and did stuff that didn't conform were weird. Probably most of my staff today who I value highly were those exact weird kids. The unconventional and authentic ones, not the highly praised cookie-cut model of what a schoolboy should be.
Here's to the crazy ones. The misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not praising individuality for individuality's sake, and I'm well aware of the often unbelievable challenges that may emerge through the latter-day concept of identity. I'm talking about embracing and fostering authenticity. This again is the challenge that our schools, in moments of careful self-awareness, must meaningfully grapple with. I spoke earlier of the balance needed between encouraging traditions where they are helpful and questioning them when they keep us stuck. Likewise, we must teach the value of both individuality and community if they are to succeed. There's a book called The Good Life, based on the Harvard study of adult development, the largest longitudinal study of its kind that tracked both Harvard freshmen and lower-class young men from the Boston inner city from the early 1990s over the course of their lives and the beginning lives of their children. The study asks, what makes a good life? And the bottom line message is this: the difference between just existing and living well is relationships. So yes, we must teach people to be individuals so they know their value intrinsically, but we must also teach them to live in community so they know their extrinsic value to their fellow man, because that is what makes us whole. Put another way, we have value in our own right, but we also have value in relation to others. Most of us know this intuitively, but once again, we find the wisdom of the ages proven by hard scientific fact. As I head into the home stretch of my talk this morning, I want to encourage that we give much greater consideration on enhancing the power of problem solving. How do we actively drive and hone these skills, measure and even test them, way beyond word sums, mathematical equations, and physics? Problem identification, verification, and the ability to solve oneself or to collaborate around solutions is possibly the most important thing in any workplace. The ability to run towards a problem rather than away from one. Inherent in having successful problem-solving skills is understanding the supreme power of simplification. In a world of growing complexity, the ability to simplify is extremely valuable. Complexity is the hiding place for first base and shoddy thinking. But if we teach our pupils how to simplify, then they will shine and stand out. To dramatize this point, I like to tell the story of a lady who is walking through a remote village in India. She chances upon an old man sitting at the side of the road who carves these mesmerizing, lifelike elephants. She asks him how he manages to create such beautiful elephants, to which he responds, well, I take a block of wood, I take my little knife, and then I remove everything that isn't the elephant. In closing, I want to briefly touch on teaching kids the power and the purpose that comes from community involvement. If you were to ask me what the most important thing is that I have done so far in my 35-year career, I would say helping to clothe the poor and homeless around the world. I'll show you what I mean.
South Africa, one of the most unequal countries in the world, where the haves and have-nots live side by side. People want to help, but aren't always sure how. And for the homeless, begging is degrading. We wanted to find a way to help bring people together, not just to give, but to connect. And so the street store was born. The world's first premises-free, rent-free, free pop-up store for the homeless. Somewhere safe to give and easy to collect. Made only from a few posters, people drop off and hang up donations. Then the homeless choose things they actually want and like. For many, used to rummaging in bins, this was their first dignified shopping experience.
Shopping at the street store was for me very nice. The people was accepting me with friendly faces.
The idea captured the attention of the media, locally and around the world. Thousands of homeless were clothed, and people were brought together like never before. But homelessness is international, so we went open source. The Street Store website allows anyone to download a printable toolkit to host their own street store, allowing street stores to pop up anywhere in the world.
Now a brand new way of helping the homeless.
Es un proyecto que nace en Sudáfrica.
And it's now on Macaulay Avenue in Chattanooga.
To date, 962 stores have popped up in cities around the world, clothing an estimated 500,000 people. But you can't host a street store every day. So we expanded the street store to hotel rooms. Guests often have items they no longer need. A street store hanger in each hotel room allows guests to donate their unwanted clothing. A simple idea, designed to restore the dignity to the homeless in one city at the tip of Africa, has become an ever-expanding global initiative for good that's touching the lives of so many people every day.
You are sent from heaven. Thank you very much. There's no way I can pay you back. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you. In 2 weeks' time, we host our 1,000th street store on Human Rights Day. So if anyone wants to host one, wherever you come from, they're currently in Cape Town and Johannesburg, but if you want to have one in Kwabega or around here, please do. So we need our kids to understand the power that comes through giving and sharing and how that can unlock better futures. I want to tell you a wonderful story about the boy that gave. 11 years ago, my company in Johannesburg was hosting a day for children from a shelter that protects women and their families once they escape domestic violence and gives them safe haven. We took these kids to Zoo Lake for the day, and each child received a box containing jeans, sneakers, a t-shirt, a hoodie, some sweets and books. A business partner of mine, Diana, took her 2 little girls to the event so they could meet and play with these kids. This one little boy, 8 years old at the time, comes over to Diana's children and says, "I see you didn't get a box. Here, you can have mine." This from a child who had absolutely nothing at the time. When I heard this story, I asked them to track this boy down. We immediately sent him to an excellent boys' school until he matriculated. He was a boarder in high school and captained their chess team and got his colours blazer. Today, at almost 20, he is on a full scholarship and studying to become a teacher himself. In a world of mass consumption, image comparison, and social media madness, huge meaning and value can come from the next generation understanding the concept that in life you don't always get because of what you take, but that better things can come to you through giving. How are we educating givers, young minds who want to make a positive difference in the world, who have a social conscience, who understand kindness, which is a superpower in itself? And lastly, teaching these young minds as part of this journey to kindness, wisdom, and understanding to embrace diversity in race, religion, gender, and sexual orientation. Boys' schools are still notoriously poor at this, and I'm not confusing wokeness or a hyper-left agenda with basic kindness and a genuine appreciation and respect for differences.
Hi, Erin.
Hi.
Okay, so I'm gonna just give you some actions to do. And just do the first thing that comes to mind. Show me what it looks like to run like a girl.
My hair. Oh my God.
Show me what it looks like to fight like a girl. Now throw like a girl.
Aw.
My name is Dakota, and I'm 10 years old.
Show me what it looks like to run like a girl. Throw like a girl. Fight like a girl. What does it mean to you when I say run like a girl?
It means run fast as you can.
So do you think you just insulted your sister?
No. I mean, yeah, insulted girls, but not my sister.
Is like a girl a good thing?
Actually, don't know if it's a bad thing or a good thing. It sounds like a bad thing. It sounds like you're trying to humiliate someone.
So when they're in that vulnerable time between 10 and 12, how do you think it affects them when somebody uses like a girl as an insult?
I think it definitely drops their self-confidence and really puts them down, because during that time they're already trying to figure themselves out, and when somebody says you hit like a girl, it's like, well, what does that mean? Because they think they're a strong person. It's kind of like telling them that they're weak and they're not as good as them.
And what advice do you have to young girls who are told they run like a girl, kick like a girl, hit like a girl, swing like a girl?
Keep doing it, because it's working. If somebody else says that running like a girl or kicking like a girl or shooting like a girl is something that you shouldn't be doing, that's their problem. Because if you're still scoring and you're still getting to the ball on time and you're still being first, you're doing it right. Doesn't matter what they say. I mean, yes, I kick like a girl and I swim like a girl and I walk like a girl and I wake up in the morning like a girl because I am a girl. And that is not something that I should be ashamed of. So I'm gonna do it anyway. That's what they should do.
If I asked you to run like a girl now, would you do it differently?
I would run like myself.
Would you like a chance to redo it?
Yeah.
Why can't run like a girl also mean win the race?
An important part of inculcating true empathy and respect is deliberately enhancing EQ, awareness, the emotional quotient that will not only make their lives happier and more purposeful, but equally enhance that of those around them, equipping them with knowledge and insight on differences in cultures, upbringing, and ways of viewing the world. Because by embracing diversity, we also get to understand the magic and the power that comes from diversity of thought. That when two people agree on everything, you only need one of them. Diversity, however, often falls under a banner of tolerance and respect for differences. It's framed incorrectly, because when one understands its true power in the highly connected global village we live in today, rather than just embracing diversity, we should be actively seeking it out in enhancing ideas, solutions, and our overall lives. For when each boy brings their own flavor, it dramatically enhances the dish, and they will emerge as men of character who deliver both values and value to the world around them. Thank you for inviting me and for listening.